Hey everybody, I just got out of seeing the movie Kick-Ass 2, okay? Now, before I go on about the movie, I want to kind of go over something that was really kind of bothering me before I seen this movie. My 13-year-old daughter, who I allowed to see the first movie, the first Kick-Ass movie, only after I had seen it, and I had the Blu-ray and I let her watch it. Now, I had seen it many times, so I knew ahead of time which scenes that I thought was appropriate and which ones that I thought were not appropriate. So while we were watching the movie, I was sitting there, and if there was something coming along that I knew that wasn't going to be appropriate, I would either pause it, and tell her, hey, you look away, and then I would fast forward it. Or if there was some language or a section of dialogue that I thought was not appropriate, I would mute it, and then we would so I was editing on the fly. Okay, now she really wanted to see this the second one, and she begged me, and she's only 13, like I said. And I thought, well, maybe I should take her, maybe I shouldn't. So I sort of reached out to a few people, and one of them is a guy named Byron Sin, and he had seen the film a few days prior to it. So I asked him, I go, hey, if you were me, had a 13-year-old kid, would you take your daughter to see this film? And he replied, no, that it wouldn't be very appropriate for a kid. And he was right, okay? That being said, tonight, in the theater, before the movie was starting, I see a guy walk in, and he's got 3 small children with him, and they probably ranged in age from about maybe 3 years old to about 6. Okay, the oldest one couldn't have been no more than 6, and they sat like 5 rows in front of me, and I have to tell you that it did make me feel uncomfortable, them being in the theater while sort of all this stuff was going on the screen, the language, some nudity, and the violence. So, what am I going to say? Am I going to lean over and go, hey, hey, dumbass, get your kids out of here. It's not my place. But I am glad that I didn't take my daughter. She's pretty mad at me still, but when it comes out on Blu-ray, I will let her watch it then after I pretty much do the same as what I did before. Okay, now on to the movie itself. It was awesome. Okay, now I am a huge fan of comics. I haven't really read any comics in quite a few years, but when I was a kid, I read a lot of comics. But in the last few years, I've really become a real big fan of comic book movies. They're probably, I'd have to say, my favorite genre of films right now. And most people really don't realize that the Kick-Ass films are actually based on the comic of Kick-Ass. So, but anyways, this movie was really great. It had just awesome action, really cool story. I really can't say enough good things about this movie. It's every bit as, like I said, as good as the first one. This time around, the bad guy is, I believe is the guy who is McLovin. Let me see. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Christopher Mintz. In the first one, you might remember that he was sort of the son of a mobster, actually a kingpin. He really doesn't. What's really kind of funny in this is that he really doesn't have any kind of fighting skills or anything. But what he does have, his power, is he realizes, I have a lot of money, so I can hire people to do my dirty work. And that's exactly what it does. And so he kind of gathers around him this really cool, eclectic group of badasses to do his fighting. And one of the one that stands out to me is a character called Mother Russia. She's this big giant Russian woman, and I do believe that she is actually Russian. And she reminded me of a female Dolph Lundgren from the, I don't know if you remember the Rocky movies. Anyways, she was a really cool character. Now, another thing that I want to bring up is Jim Carrey in this film. He plays a character called Sergeant Stars and Stripes, I believe, and his character is he's a former mobster, an enforcer, and I guess he's kind of a born-again Christian, and so of course now he goes after bad guys, and he's a badass in this movie, and you know he's like, okay, well you know, whenever he hears somebody swearing and stuff, he's like, hey, you know, cool it with the swearing and all that. But it's sort of weird to see him be such a sort of goody two-shoe, you know, Christian, but yet he's killing people. And then, of course, we all know the controversy over Jim Carrey, and he refuses to do any press or promotion for the film because he feels it's too violent. But he's the guy that's in the film committing the acts of violence. But, you know, I like Jim Carrey, but whatever his reasons are, he does a great job in the movie. And, but, you know, okay. All right, the bottom line is, go see this movie. It was a lot of fun. Do not take the kids. It's not for kids. And also go check out Byron Sin, his review of this movie. It's much better than mine. I'm going to put a link down below. And also go check out the guys over at Live Fast, Die Poor. They got a lot of really cool, fun videos of all kinds of stuff. They're really funny. And, you know, support them the best way you can by just clicking on play and watching them. Alright, so that's it. So, goodbye.